Computer. Lights.
Good morning, all, and happy Friday to everyone. I'm here all by myself, looking pointedly at Colton, or maybe Raph, or maybe Pepper, because they're not here. So, just you and me out here. So, anyway, okay, well, it's Friday, and we're going to do the artist check-in as soon as somebody checks in. I've got an interesting discussion going on over here about the mass conversion that I was doing earlier this week. I was trying to get to a point where I could get my star data running in that program that I've got, which is really cool. So that was my big thing. And I know people are kind of wondering, why in the world would I do that? The answer really is that I like to give as much information and plug as much information into my backstory that is real as possible, for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, it's good to have real data, but the second thing is that it does a better way of making things. It gives a feel. There's a feel that this is a real thing. Like when I load all of these stars into It's Full of Stars, the little program that I'm using, it puts the stars in the right spot. And so, I mean, sure, I could just take a map and then throw a pin at it until I've dotted enough dots to make stars and say, those are my stars. But they'll be biased in some way. I will make all of them yellow stars, or maybe I'll try to randomize their color a little bit. And then later on, you kind of find out that, well, gosh, that's an area that has absolutely no yellow stars. And okay, I didn't mean it that way, or whatever. And that only bothers me. It doesn't bother anybody else. And I'm having fun. So even though it's slightly stressful, it's still a very fun and entertaining thing that I do. So I don't worry too terribly much. I know people think I'm weird, but that's fine. I don't know where the guys are this morning. I saw Colton give a thumbs up on the thing, but he may be busy this morning. So we'll have to see what's going on. I don't see where everybody is this morning, which is fine. They'll come up here somewhere along the line. So anyway, for my artist check-in, because usually we get sidetracked by some funny discussion and then end up talking about, whatever pizza for a long time. Let me go ahead and talk about what I did this week. This week, I really mostly concentrated on working on a project for a client in Character Animator. Character Animator is a program that works, or that is it's an Adobe product, and it's a really clever and cool program, but it's also got like a couple of unnecessarily complex things, and one of them is rigging the character. So once you've built a puppet, you build the head and the neck, and then you build the arms, the upper arm, the lower arm, and the hand, and then the chest, and then the hips, and then the legs in different pieces. And you have it looks very much like you'd imagine the South Park characters look like. They're all cut up and, all in little pieces. Then you assemble all of those together in Character Animator, and it understands the relationship between the pieces so that you can move it. And that's really cool. You build the puppet, it can be used. And so that's a nifty thing. But it also it used to be really easy. They used to have a staple tool where you just literally stapled the arm to the body and stapled the head to the body, and it understood that was what they call an IK, inverse kinematics, IK chain. And so that was kind of a thing, and they got rid of that tool in favor of putting everything in folders. So now if you want something to be part of it, it's still... It is kind of amazing, isn't it? South Park they totally were doing that up until the moment where they got Flash. Then they were running it on Flash forever and a day. That was kind of wild. It was kind of, we had a passing of sort of a historical passing when Flash finally closed its doors this last year. Anyway, so the new version of putting everything in folders has really messed with me. It's very hard for me to understand and grasp that concept. So to me, I am just effectively now downloading an Adobe Puppet and then swapping out all the pieces in there because they already put it in all the correct folders. And that's uncomfortable. I don't like that. It's more difficult to understand, and it's difficult to visualize. And so this is the old peanut butter and jelly theory that we were talking about. I know we've talked about this before on the show with people who have the sort of the light version of the spectrum problems, the ADD, like a lot of us do, the attention deficit. Somebody was posting a while back, because I don't think you've heard this story yet, Ghost Hand, that they were talking to a psychiatrist who was discussing what's going on inside ADDers' minds, and they said that it was the peanut butter and jelly sandwich function. When I say make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you immediately see the peanut butter and jelly sandwich in your head. You can disassemble it. You know you have 2 slices of bread. You need some jelly. You need some peanut butter. You put it all together and it makes a sandwich. So you now know that the next step is to go get the peanut butter out of the pantry, get the jelly out of the fridge, get the bread off of the little bread wherever thing, and then you need a knife and you need a spoon, and you can do all of this stuff, and everything kind of works because you disassemble from that point. ADDers are missing the initial picture. Now, for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, this is oversimplified. Obviously, we can make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. However, anytime I'm stuck with that step 1, push this button. Step 2, open this file. Step 3, click row 5, layer 3. Step 4, move that to here. Step 5, add a plus to this. Step 6, I don't understand. I can't see what they were headed for. Normal people, by the time they get to about step 6, they're like, oh, I see, you're trying to do this. And they get the overriding picture and they understand what's going on. I can't see that. And so the only thing I can do when, they're like, well, in step 7, look, you've got everything you need. Then I'm like, okay. And then they're like, you do it yourself. And I'm like, okay, step 1, click here. That didn't work. Why didn't that work? Well, because you're not supposed to click literally here. You're supposed to click something like this. I don't see that. I can't make that connection. I can't understand that process. So when it's a 7-step process or whatever, I literally have no choice but to repeat it exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can't. The way that has worked with me in the past is for someone to sort of give sort of an opening statement to it. We're going to try to use all of these folders in sort of a tree, like a tree. This one's the root, these guys are the branches, and the further down the branches you go, the more the thing can sway. Oh, okay, I get that. So step one, you're going to want to open this. Step two, you're going to, I need sort of that preamble. What we're going to do is build a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Where are the guys today? I'm rambling all day long. So anyway, and that's why Character Animator took me so long to get through all of these processes. It's because all of the YouTube, there are no, there's only like 2 people or 3 people who are putting out how to do things in Character Animator, because they changed this specific function is only about a year old. So there's only a handful of people, a handful of program or videos out there. They're all videos. Nobody has a walkthrough. It's all videos. And the guy is doing a wonderful job of teaching it. The problem is he's teaching it to people who can understand. So you click here, and then you click this, and then you move this over here, and then move that over there, and poof, everything is linked together. And I'm sitting there moving stuff around, and I'm like, in my puppet, I don't have a left arm, so I don't know I can't link the left arm. And then, of course, it all fails, and it becomes an issue. I am having a real problem with a couple of programs, specifically Adobe. I'm absolutely in agreement with you, Ghost Hand, because Adobe also, in its infinite wisdom, just recently updated and changed the Save As dialog box. So now when you save as, I'm not talking about save, I'm talking about the Save As. When you save as, it will send you to a screen where you can only save it as a Photoshop file. In order for you to save it as a JPEG, you have to click Save a Copy, which is a second button down there. So I have a PSD, I want to save it as a JPEG, I have to click Save As, then save as a copy. So I've got 2 steps now, and then it saves it as copy.jpg. Well, I don't want it to be saved as copy. Usually I want the JPEG to just be a JPEG version of my PSD. So, 1234.psd, I want to be 1234.jpg. So now I have to select copy and delete to get rid of the word copy. Now they've made it so that everything has 2 steps. This is harder when we deal with things like springs, where I've got 250 of them, and all of them are PSD files, and all of them need to be just saved as a JPEG of the same name. That's much more aggravating, especially since there's already a JPEG in there, and usually what I will do, open the PSD, like my early Springs comics, I used Comic Sans as a font. And now it's becoming kind of I wouldn't say it's inappropriate, but it's kind of a silly joke to use Comic Sans in your comic strips. I actually have a font that I drew. I made the font myself. It's my own handwriting. And so I use that font all the time for everything, to letter stuff. And so I have a silly font for Springs, and I have a serious font for whenever I do Bellatrix Rising. And the silly font has like reversed, my E's look like 3s going backwards. And that's actually something I picked up from my mom. She used to write E's that way all the time. And so I picked it up from her. And so now whenever I write, my E's are often just reversed 3s. So my silly font has that, but that's harder to read because it does kind of look flip-flop. So I made another font which has correctly inked E's so that they look right. and stuff. Also, it has all comic fonts have always been uppercase. All of them are always uppercase. There's no lowercase letters in comic fonts. So for uppercase and lowercase, I'll just write two different versions of the letters so that if you have to say like scene, S-E-E-N, you can hit S capital E lowercase E-N, and it will look like two E's that are drawn slightly different so that it doesn't look like a font. You can cheat a little there and make that work. And so, right. And that's the other thing that bugs me about companies, like software companies. They believe that it's never their fault. Like there's no possible way that their program could be, at fault here. I have that problem with Microsoft too. I mean, I'll get a crash and they'll be like, it's not our problem. Figure it out yourself. Okay. And then I find out I had this problem with the Surface. I use a Microsoft Surface and it wouldn't charge. And it was not so it wasn't charging back up. So you could only run it plugged in, but it wasn't taking enough energy plugged in. So ultimately it would just die. You'd be working on it and it would shut itself down, because even plugged in, because it had not enough power to keep the battery going and it wasn't charging the battery. So it didn't have enough power to run it. And so I wrote to Microsoft a number of times, and their whole thing was, it's not our problem, it's yours. Maybe you've got a virus, or maybe you've got a this, or why don't you reinstall everything? So I did all of that stuff, went through all the steps. It turns out that they had a DLL handler for the charger that would accidentally make it think it was a low power charger and then handle it like it was a data line. And it was really weird. Yeah. It's funny that you would say that 8 was nearly perfect, because most people feel like 8 was a mess. But maybe it was application based. Like you just used applications that were super solid in 8, and I used applications that were super messy. Maybe just like what I was just talking about, maybe I'm blaming Microsoft for Adobe's mishaps, So who knows? Maybe that's the thing. Interesting. We're 20 minutes into the show and I still don't see any of the other guys. Hope they did their art this week. I'm just saying. Well, okay, that's fair. So you're talking about Windows 8 at the end of its life, towards the end of where they started Windows 10. That makes some sense. I mean, sure. I mean, every operating system when it comes out needs to be patched up. So that makes some sense. Windows has a unique problem as well, because Microsoft has, by rule, required that it has backward compatibility to DOS. So you still can operate DOS inside the Windows 10 framework, and in order for them to do that, they need to be able to sort of, they have to keep program. So it's still running sort of an 8-bit system at the bottom, and then they just keep putting a 32-bit and then a 64-bit system up on top that still has to keep talking back to this 8-bit system at the bottom. And we end up with like the weirdest crap because of it. Like, hard drives that can't be any hard drives that were over, what was it, 1 gig? For a while there, you couldn't format a hard drive over 1 gig because it just didn't understand it. Kundi's trying to find it. trying to find the shoe, which of course. Hang on. Let's see. On the here we go. I'm trying to get Kundi to come in here. Yeah, Doom is like a lot of fun though. Okay, we're gonna see if Kundi's gonna join us here. So, yeah, I don't know where the rest of the guys are. Hey, anyone wanna join me? Okay. The only problem is that we've been doing artist check-in on Friday, and I've had somebody here every day that usually, and now I don't have artwork to work on today because I wasn't prepared to not have anybody here. That's kind of funny. So one of our favorite games that we were playing was Descent. I don't know if anybody else has ever played that. But Descent was a wonderful, wonderful game. I'm trying to see if anybody else is there. Like, somebody want to join me? Hello, Colton. Yeah, there, Colton. So, anyway, yeah, I feel like that the structure of that is sort of interesting. So all I've got right now, really, to show people is that I have been working on an Access database, but that's not very exciting to show as far as artwork goes. So I'm going to see what I can do to find artwork. It is, by the way, well, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you. I'm trying to ramble entertainingly while I wait for Colton to show up. Or I see Colton moving around, but I don't see him getting onto the feed here. So, okay. Anyway, so what I did know that happened this week was that Pepper managed to finish off making my pink color for my paint set. So now I've got that pink, and it is pretty bright. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to use it for. We'll find out. If Kundi, if you're joining me just now, I'll talk to you a little bit what I've been doing here. I've been trying to get a watercolor set that makes logical sense, and I'll actually go fetch it right here. And what we've got is I went on ahead and got, well, I was trying to find, okay, let me back up. Ollie Bob and I have been working on watercolors for a couple of years now. I got into it a while back because Bob's really good at watercolors, and aha, Pepper's here. Good. That's good, because totally need to talk to you. Ah, you're here, Pepper.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Guess what, folks? Insomnia combined with staying up until 5 in the morning means I'm going to be late.
Yeah, it is. I'm like, hey, where are you?
Yeah, normally I'm like, this show used to be at 10 o'clock, folks, and I woke up one morning and I literally went to my Facebook Instagram, my Facebook Messenger, and I was just like, oh my God, we're late. And we hadn't even done the show at 9 o'clock. So you should the 9 o'clock time was kind of something that I was like, I started getting on before Guy.
Right? You were more into that than me. So Anyway, I was just about to talk about my paints because
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because like
By
I
the
was
way,
talking about my card, which I've got going on here,
uh,
but I was also going to talk about like the colors, aren't they beautiful? So I think, not 100% sure, but I think that Kundi is watching too. So I was talking
who?
to Kundi,
Oh,
one of the
okay.
other people from Red Team Go.
Is he going to join?
No, he's just going to watch today. I think he's working, so which
Oh,
is cool.
okay.
So, but anyway, I was explaining for his benefit because I know I've explained this to everybody else. But I was trying to figure out a good palette that was like reasonable to start from because like the palette that I had gotten had like one blue and one green and like 62 reds. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. And it didn't seem like it was a very balanced palette. So I was just trying to find something to work from, sort of a
Mhm,
starting point. And so I
mhm,
went and found out that at the Miyazaki Museum, the Ghibli Museum in Mitaka, they sell a set of paints that are, you know, a certain set of colors, and it's the same kind of palette that the artists at Studio Ghibli use. And I was like, oh
mhm,
well, now I want to do that. So I didn't really necessarily want to buy that particular set, although I think I will the next time I'm in Japan. Um, but the point was, it gave me sort of a reference point of 24 colors to start with, and so
mhm,
that's what I ended up doing was just kind of trying to match those colors, which is what we've got going on here. Is this is my fake Miyazaki palette. This is exactly the same number of colors as they sell. It's just that some of them are really cheap paints that are the same color-ish, and
mhm.
some aren't.
Do
So
you have any? Sorry, this is
that's great.
out of my own curiosity. Out of the ones that we did pick up, do you have any of them that started cracking?
Um, the ones that we got, let's see here. No, well, I mean, the Holbein ones are obviously really nice, so they didn't do anything. They didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
So it worked really well. I mean, like the Holbein ones are really smooth and nice, as we expected.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are cracked and weird are the ones that I already had before,
Oh, okay.
and
Alrighty.
they came from a cheap set of paints. I don't mean to knock my dad, but my dad gave me my first set of paints like it was just before I went to Japan, so it's been 20 years now. And he, you know, so my dad and I had a contentious relationship in my 20s because I was clearly an artist and I was clearly headed for being an artist. And, um, and he really kind of thought that was, you know, he was totally cool with me being an artist. He just thought I should be a lawyer too while I was at it, or something that paid a lot of money. Um, and I have
Yeah.
not the patience for that. Right, Ghost Hand? Studio
It's
Ghibli is just so pretty.
yeah.
Um,
The
but I'm doing like spaceships and things like that, and I'm like, I'm ending up with like weird colors to decide what to do. You made, by the way, a beautiful like battleship blue, which I'm going to use. I can already tell. Um, oh man, you wanted to be a historian. Oh, I love history.
yeah. So
Um,
if you guys missed Watercolor Wednesday, I just sat there and just kept making paint on my board.
yep,
I had
and you just
leftover.
made stuff.
Yeah, I like literally I had leftover binder from a project that someone requested me to make a big vat of one particular paint, and I used all the way up to like like this much of the binder, and so I used that binder for making Pink is Pink to start out with, and then I added
Still
since
had some binder left over.
Yeah, and what I ended up doing is I just like left the Pinkest Pink on there, and like I mulled paint dirty. I guess that's what it's called. I never cleaned in between, so like the Pinkest Pink went into uh, transparent golden ochre, and I never. And this is what I regret. I regret actually saving some of that golden ochre mixed with the Pinkest Pink.
Yeah.
Just I never did that. I added like a splash of Prussian blue, and then I added more golden ochre because it was like even the small amount of Prussian blue, it was still blue.
Right.
Like it took a lot of ochre to break that kind of there. Now I haven't tested it yet, but I think now that it's in paint form, I need to test it again to see if it will separate. Because I know Prussian blue does not act like an ultramarine.
Right.
So I'm hoping that it's gonna like if it does separate, it separates because it's wet, and you'll get like this effect of where it'll be bluer in some areas and like not so blue in other areas.
Right. Well, and that's what I mean, obviously, I'll just mess with it. I like blues, so I'll take any blue you make. But especially when you start wandering into more of the battleship blues, and I mean, I make spaceships and robots. I mean, those are colors I'm going to use.
I mean, I make robots too, so
I know, but I'm just saying,
my robots are
I'm not trying to compare myself to you.
No,
here.
my robots are a little bit more comedical, though. They're not.
See, now I feel like though I should make a robot using my Pinkest Pink. You know what I mean? Like that's like the most ridiculously weird color to paint your robot. So we should do something like that. Sort of feel that.
If you're gonna use the Pinkest Pink, I can see it like being like one of those things where you use it and like a bomb has gone off,
Right.
and like it's just like there, and everyone's like, "What did you try to do?" And he's like, and the robot's like, "I tried to make bubble gum."
Right. That'd be awesome.
Why
Sad
did you
robot,
try to make
bubble gum everywhere.
Why did you try to make bubble gum? Because I thought I needed to.
Right. I was talking about Character Animator, and they've got what's called a nutcracker jaw, and it's that being able to move just that centerpiece. And I was like, that's perfect for robots. The little nutcracker jaws are great for robots.
Yeah,
you robots have really awesome animation.
Yeah, I think nutcrackers are great for nutcrackers in unorganic materials.
Right.
But as far as humans go, when humans do it, it's kind of weird.
Oh man, rafts in New Mexico. Well, that's just a weak excuse. Raph, that's a weak excuse.
Colton's just all gonna watch. His camera's busted.
Oh.
He doesn't have the mental capacity.
That's all right. It's okay. I have Pepper.
I'm a consolation prize.
You totally are. No, actually, I started and nobody was here, and I'm like, so I'll just start doing the dancing. I'll tap my hand because it was like, nobody's here. So I already went through sort of what I did over the week.
Oh, okay.
Which was I worked on Character Animator all week and finished. I did finish the character animation project that I was working on for Nate. So that's good. My coffee.
Yes, it's yes, Kundi. It's on Twitch as well.
Yep, we're on Twitch, and that's GS Davis Art. on Twitch, which is actually where Ghost Hand is. When you're wondering who's talking over here, that's Ghost Hand. And Ghost Hand's coming in from Brazil. Brazil. So at least Colton's over there on Twitch too.
Okay.
Make your own ice cream is so much fun.
Yeah. Sorry,
So
I got
that's
all
another one of
quiet
those.
because I got all quiet because this past week, as I informed you on Wednesday, Watercolor Wednesday. I don't think I informed everyone on the show.
Broadcast to the universe.
Basically, I was trying to get flats done in like 3 days.
Yep.
So breaking up like 3 pages per day. I only got 4 done.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing why. When you draw things that have large swaths of forests behind people,
Forever.
and you're digitally drawing, I did not realize on how long it was going to take me. I just didn't.
It's actually, if you're digitally though, boy, I get some real boost out of different brushes. Like I've got a couple of Photoshop brushes that just lay down multiple colors of shades between your foreground and background layer. So you set it for a dark green and a light green, and then you just run along the back, and it just sits there and just does like, and it splatters light green, dark green sort of stuff in the background, and that makes.
Yeah, I need to get those.
They're probably in our folder. I'll have to look.
Procreate.
Yeah, that weird folder. Oh, for Procreate? If you're using Procreate, I can't help you.
Exactly. Exactly.
I can't help you. Nothing I can do.
Trust me, there are things that I've looked into, and they. How should I put this?
Gently.
They. Like, I see people's Procreate stuff, and they will have, like, they'll have a brush that makes books.
Right.
Like, that just goes across, like, in a bookshelf, like, when they're doing, like, a single line across. It'll be like they just wrote a book, wrote a ton of books together.
Right, like a spine, like spines of books. So you can just populate bookshelves.
Here's my deal. I hate drawing those individually.
Right.
Just do. That's why I think a lot of people do. That's why when you see library scenes. That's why when you see library scenes, it seems like you have large swaths of a single color.
Well, and when you're doing it manually with like watercolor brushes, you're like, oh, this sucks.
I've actually done it.
Tap, 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 tap.
I've actually done it. It's not like I've only had to deal with it a couple of times, and yeah, it gets me every time. Not emotional, just basically, it hurts.
Right, it's painful. What I will do is I will make a texture, a background texture for it. So, I'll that way I only have to deal with it once. One of the traits of Julie Cochran, which I haven't decided whether Lee Chang is taking it and moving it over to that character or not, was Julie Cochran had real books in her quarters, like actual honest to goodness books. And it was all because Cochran didn't do really well with computers, which I thought was an interesting trait for someone in the Star Trek universe. You can't use computers very well. They're smarter than me, So she instead preferred to just have rows and rows and rows of books, which meant that every time I showed her quarters, I had to have bookshelves all around her. And it was like, oh. So I ultimately just made a texture, which then I could map to her walls of her quarters. And so I had to go through the pain once, but I only had to go through it once. Then I never made a color version of her quarters, which is, if I move this along to Chang, I'm going to have to do is make a color version of those quarters. Because then I'll have to put I haven't decided whether the world is slightly different in Bellatrix Rising than it was in Tamerlane. Tamerlane's pretty straightforward. You just pretty much have Star Trek Kirk era, and any world aspect from that fits, you know. But Bellatrix Rising has some differences in the histories that I've added in. One, there was an apocalypse on Earth. So this is post-apocalyptic Earth without Earth. So this is way in the future, but you know, Earth was pretty much screwed up, which means that books are actually kind of rare and weird and not necessarily going to be, you know what I mean? It's like I've been thinking about it, I'm like, or maybe they go the other direction, and because, you know, data was lost, so much data was lost in the apocalypse, now people cherish and treasure books because they're the only things that you can guarantee won't be wiped out by an EM pulse or, you know, something like that. Yeah. Which means that it wouldn't be as weird to see books in people's quarters because they would have normal, I mean, books would just be a thing. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I kind of like the latter of those two. Not necessarily that books are like revered or anything like that. That's not really kind of what I'm looking for, but more along the lines of these books are, we carry books around more because it's just, we're sort of a little bit, you know, gun shy now about getting rid of everything and moving digitally.
Well, I mean, it's understandable what you're saying. So
yeah, so if so, I'm going to probably have bookshelves everywhere. TLDR, there'll be bookshelves everywhere. So after all of this whole discussion, I'm like sitting there going, yeah, Pepper, I totally agree. I hate books too. Suddenly I'm like, wait, maybe I should have books a lot in my comic. Crap. How did I end up here? This is your fault, Pepper, you know.
I did nothing.
Yeah. So
I did nothing. Nothing at all.
I know nothing. I know nothing.
I know nothing. I have no recollection of what you are saying. I'm good.
Right.
I'll just continue working on my comic real quick. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
So.
No, okay, so this past week, besides my own comic stuff that I'm doing and stuff like that, I connected with an anthology about Florida Man.
Oh yeah.
And I thought I had someone that was willing to work with me on it, and turns out that's a no.
Aww.
Well, I emailed the guy back, and he hasn't emailed me since. But it took him like 3 days to email me the first time, and he's in Alberta, Canada. So I'm like,
I have a buddy up there too.
Yeah, and I was just like, well,
Alberta.
I'm just like, well, no, not where's Alberta. I'm like, oh, what part of Alberta are you in? You might be family.
Right. Well, no, I was saying, what is it with Alberta? I mean, you and I both have buddies up in Alberta. What's this? I mean, of all the places in Canada, I mean, not Montreal or Ottawa or anything like that. No, Alberta.
Right. And I'm just like, all right, so I just like I'm just like going through and apparently like I just yeah, I haven't heard back. I don't want to sit there and hold out on it. I have a story idea for this anthology because I grew up in Florida. I just don't want to draw it.
I know that
Like
one.
I'm at the point where I'm just like I would write it, and I just don't want to draw it.
Yeah, we can assign it to Colton. Yeah, someday I will. Someday you and I can collaborate on something. It's not going to be today. I don't think. I'm sorry. I'm still running
no,
up.
I
on
know
life
it's not
advertising.
today. I know like no like I know most people in my life like they're busy.
Colton's like, I'll draw
Um,
it.
so I just want to point out, Colton, that if you want to draw it, I don't mind, but you have to be prepared to draw children meeting a man that is missing 3 fingers on his right hand and 4 fingers on his left hand, and he looks like he has about 6 teeth left in his mouth. And by the way, this is a Florida person. This is a description of an actual Florida person from my childhood that wrestled alligators out of people.
There you are, Kundi. Welcome to Twitch.
Wrestled alligators out of someone's pool.
That's why he lost all of his fingers.
Yes. He also wrestled a few other types of animals in his lifetime as well. Basically, all the characters,
like, I'm in.
all the characters basically are based off of actual factual people. I'm just changing names and I'm changing how the events went down because it's weird. It's wacky Florida type shenanigans.
I'm just taunting. Right
No, it's okay. Basically, the story is about on how I told my grandmother that I would, like, I started asking her one day, like, what would happen if, say, an alligator got into the pool? And she told me the story of the person who had an alligator in their pool not that far away from them. And apparently the same guy that did that also goes on to, also at the time had gone on to construction sites to remove animals for my grandfather. And that's on how I saw him.
Wow.
Yeah. Animals do some pretty weird things as well, not just Florida, man.
I mean, obviously. And Florida, I'm sure, has a whole host of bizarrely different things going on, such as life in Florida. Florida man is well known the world around.
I mean, Florida, like, you have to understand, like, the people that like are like the person that's putting together the anthology. He's like, the love that people do for the state of Florida and your native Floridian.
Mm-hmm.
Something about the fact that we have to deal with people like this, it makes us like have like a badge of pride. It's kind of
you
like
guys survived Florida, man.
Exactly, and it's like, and I do want to tell the story, but like, it's one of those things of I have to submit it, and I need someone that would be able to get it done. That's the only requirement, Colton.
How many pages?
Only a few pages. It's like it has to be an even number of pages, so anywhere from 4 to 10.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Colton's serious. I'm taunting Colton, but you know.
I mean, if you really truly want to do it, I will talk to you at Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That's pretty much spot on, Ghost Hand. Yeah,
yep.
we have large parts of Florida that actually smell legitimately. Our cryptid even smells. Anyone hear of the skunk ape? It's a brother cousin
Wow.
to Bigfoot. Only he smells worse than a skunk.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. Double yikes. Triple yikes. Whoa. So yeah, okay. That's wild. So yeah, I guess just he's going to help
I
you with
guess
that.
I'll talk to Colton about it.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Actually, you and
I
Colton
mean,
kind of collaborating on this sounds like a fun thing to do.
I just fair warning. I'll probably send over sketches, Colton, like of the type of characters. You won't have to actually use those sketches. I will probably send you over sketches though. They are based off of family members of mine, so I know them better. That's the only reason why. Yeah. No, I'm trying to do that, but I'd rather talk. So
No, that's not good. I just noticed that my data is missing some pieces here, it looks like, while we were talking about this. I am still working on my star data.
good to know, Ghost Hand. I call Florida the Australia of the United States. There's some people that don't believe Florida exists.
I guess.
They've never been to Disney World.
I'm going to say, without Florida, though, I'd be missing a bunch of my launches.
Yeah. Well, it's a staged area in Texas, don't you know?
Right? So,
Kind of like on that same soundstage that they did the lunar landing.
that's California, though. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. That's one of those things. You want to talk about getting my blood pressure up. Because, I mean, it's one thing to joke about it. That's totally cool. But there are people who legit think that we didn't go to the moon. Like, legit. Like, honestly.
There are people on this planet that believe that Australia is a mythical country and it does not exist.
I know. But, I mean, I'm willing to sit there and just say, those people are crazy. And, but boy, I'll get into, like, the worst fights ever with people who are moon hoaxers. They are like the bane of my existence. They are so horrible.
I worked with mine. I can deal with moon hoaxers, and I'll just basically be like, you know what? That's your deal. You believe that. I'll believe what I believe, and we'll be okay. However, I've worked with a flat earther.
Yeah, well, actually, I didn't think that those were real people until I actually had one as a student.
Yeah, I worked with a flat earther, and all I have to say is I had to be so careful not to talk about the solar system in front of him, and I was so tempted.
I had to teach life science.
Well, I mean,
to the aforementioned kid who was a flat earther, whose dad was a flat earther, and I'm like, and actually, ultimately, I ended up having to stop teaching science because there's no real way to teach science without somehow discussing Earth being round. And it was even funnier because as part of my science curriculum, I was showing episodes of Cosmos, still one of my favorite shows. It was made in 1980 and it still holds up really, really well, which is amazing considering that science moves and marches on. But Dr. Sagan was so good at assembling his data and making it accessible that I still use Cosmos today. My kid watches Cosmos with me.
Yeah.
We'll go get it's like a family tradition to go get Little Caesars pizza. It's horrible pizza, but we both love it. We know that, and we don't do it very often. But we'll sit here and watch Cosmos episodes. But Dr. Sagan did a wonderful bit, which I see every so often showing up on Facebook, where he talks about how we discovered that the Earth was round. And there was nothing, as he said, they discovered the size of the planet using nothing more than brains and feet and math. And that was it. And 2 sticks. And that was all. And he showed how they did it by taking a piece of paper and putting 2 obelisks in it and bending it and showing it where the sun hits it to show the difference in the angles of the shadows.
Yeah.
And those Canon lunatics are bizarre. Being ruled by reptiles is like, it's kind of nice. I, for one, look forward to my reptilian overlords.
I mean, it explains so much about politicians.
I am having a bizarre argument with someone about mask mandates. Because, of course, they found emails that Dr. Fauci said that masks don't.
Well, I have some strong opinions about Dr. Fauci in general.
Sure. But this is a completely bizarre. Yeah. This particular argument is bizarre. So I was arguing about the argument and ended up with like 60 different articles from this guy that proves that masks are completely useless. And I've been sitting there going, if masks don't work, why do doctors wear them?
So there's a percentage that masks work. N95 masks are said to be the most effective at protecting you against any type of disease airborne. Right.
But the point is that you're not protecting you.
Right.
I'm protecting you.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that part of my arguments that frustrates me so much, and it's probably because I was in Japan. Mm-hmm. Culturally, when you have a cold or when you have the flu, you put a mask on. Mm-hmm. That's just what you do in Japan.
Yeah.
You just do that. That's just how it works. You put a mask on. It's not to keep you from getting another cold. It's there so the spit that's in my very words, just spitting things, doesn't get on you, which, even if it stops 10% and doesn't stop 90%, that's still 10% better, and that's part of what I was having the argument with. It doesn't really matter. It's because the point that I was trying to get at was there's a lot of indoctrination in our different propaganda lines out there. And I'm not just talking about right, I'm talking about left as well. But so many weird things that all you need to do is just think for a minute and go, wait a minute. Masks don't work to stop the transmission of the disease. Well, you're still spitting spit. And you're saying that all of my spit just goes through every mask? No, it doesn't. Even if it's 10%. I'm talking about him.
Facts, I know. The actual facts, and I think I know some of those articles because people have sent them to me too. When you're talking about masks and everything, especially in Japan, which is something that practice started after the first time that we had a disease that went through 1918, and basically that's the swine flu of 1920. Yes, folks. That particular one lasted 2 years.
Mhm.
2 years. Global. So every 100 years, this happens on the planet naturally, without human intervention.
Without us even
Uh,
trying. It's almost like
now,
Mother Nature just wants to kill us.
yeah. The problem is Dr. Fauci gave particular politicians an opening for him to not be discredited, but basically go into a very questionable area. And it's highlighting some of the things that Dr. Fauci did back in the 80s when he was involved in the early on AIDS research.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, I hate to say this, but like he did actually go through and ruin a couple of people's career over that research.
Well, and so I really,
And that's why I don't like him.
well,
That's the only reason
that
why.
is a completely legit and reasonable reason to not like him. That's totally fine. I don't mind. What wasn't I was really not trying to get in here and get started on Dr. Fauci, but see, these are all zeros. Why did you delete them? Oh, I swear. So Access freaked out over my temperature value over here. Of course, I'm sitting here going, why is it that the temperature was 0? This star has no temperature. It's at 0 degrees. Absolute 0 star. I'm gonna have to figure out what went bonked on this one. Especially since those are A-class stars. Those are O-class stars. I'm pretty sure that they're not at 0. My data. I swear I've been working on this data all week for my stars, for my star charts. And what I was saying at the very, very beginning of the show was, that's in California. Yeah. So one of the things that I was saying at the very beginning was, I know that I'm being completely excessive about my stars and star charts and stuff like that, but A, I actually enjoy it. So even though it's frustrating, I really like this part of the world building process.
Mm-hmm.
B, I like the idea that my stars that are around Bellatrix are going to be the actual stars that are around Bellatrix, and not just me putting dots on a piece of paper and saying, oh, these are the stars that are around Bellatrix. I'm really using a real star. Bellatrix, for those of you guys who are wondering, Bellatrix is the left shoulder of Orion. So the right shoulder is Betelgeuse, and the left shoulder is Bellatrix. And so this is a real star in a real location in space where my story takes place, and it's all based on a planet orbiting Bellatrix. But knowing some stuff about it and having some real information about it, it's kind of fun. Bellatrix is a really young star. It's really, really, really young.
Yeah.
So because it's really young, not only are none of the planets in the Bellatrix system none of them have life or life compatible at all.
Yeah.
But the 2 innermost planets are still in a planetary disk, in an accretion disk. So Bellatrix has a ring, and in the ring are 2 little planets that are still forming and will be for another couple of million years. But the Bellatrix is so young that its accretion disk is still there. And that's kind of cool, because I was like, oh, it's young enough that it probably still has forming planets. But that gave an extra bit of texture to my story that came from the literal science of looking at the system. And I've never seen anybody talk about a star system with an accretion disk still. But Bellatrix likely still has an accretion disk right now. You just can't see it, but because nobody's actually in the system. But this star is so young. Most of the stars in the Orion Nebula are really young because that's a birthing nebula. They're all new stars being born in there right now.
You're saying that, and I'm like picturing like this fountain just like in the middle of space. It's like a big old dust cloud that's like all light pink and different colors, right? And all of a sudden you'll just see like a star figure going with like a silly face. Woo!
Right? Yeah, that could happen. But I mean, it's like, so, and it makes it a violent place to travel hyperspace in, because there's a lot of gravity variance and things like that, which is another reason why I wanted to put the real stars in. When I put the real stars in, I noticed sort of a pattern. Like, it all travels, sort of, the stars travel in an angle, starting from like going from Earth side to Betelgeuse. So if you imagine Earth's on one side and Betelgeuse is on the other of this, and Bellatrix is right in the middle, the stars kind of go in a catty corner like this, and you can see them. They're all clumped in a group, and so you can actually see what looks like, a swirl of the galaxy, if you will, where the galaxy is pulling in groups of stars, and they kind of go in threads. And I mean, really, honestly, the universe is made of pretty much slime. Everything is slime. So, if you imagine taking something slimy and throwing it, it gets into these clumps and groups of clumps. And that's exactly the way everything works in the universe. So stars get into these clumps that ultimately start to pull apart, and then they try to become little spheres, ultimately, when they're far enough away from the galaxy. And that's where you get those globular clusters of stars that just float around the outside of our galaxy. But inside the arms, the gravity groups are these clumps that are like strung out. They look kind of like bubbles, when we take bubbles and we first blow the bubble and it forms like bubble lines of bubbles. Or water. Water does the same thing. Yeah, where you look at, like, you turn on the faucet.
Messages
from
the fluidic universe.
Wait, what?
Are we in fluidic space now?
Sort of. Species 8472, time for them to visit us. Yeah. But you can kind of see the patterns when I build the stars up in real life. I can kind of see where the clump of gravity is through there that holds all those stars together, and where it has already kind of pulled apart on either side, because there's gaps in between these groups of, like, these threads of stars. So it's been kind of fun. But it also means that, like, my gravity charts might be somewhat accurate, if you were to try to kind of look at the gravity gradients and stuff like that through that part of there. And that, for me, that's an intriguing thing. It's fascinating to do, but also in the story, it'll give some real texture, because otherwise it's just Star Trek, where you just get into the ship, you go warp 5, and you head that way, and then you de-warp, and you're in another star system, And in other words, I kind of wanted to make the galaxy a little less like driving on interstates. We leave Denver and we drive on an interstate until we get to Kansas City.
Well, it's kind of like that moment where when people, if you rewatch the Jetsons,
yeah,
like, you have a flying car. How are you stuck in traffic?
Right.
But then there's also other things about that series that, like, kind of disproportionately, it kind of, like, says, like, it kind of proves the theory that Fred Flintstone is actually on below the clouds.
Right.
And George Jetson's above the clouds. And now anyone on the surface is Stone Age, and they're in, like, the atomics age.
Right.
Type deal from, like, and what I mean is George Jetson is very much the world of atomic punk, what we call Atomic Punk now, which is like, you know, that pulp magazine space stuff from the 1950s and 60s.
I love Atomic Punk. That's like I am such a sucker for that style.
Yeah. And then Stone Punk, which is Stone Age level materials and everything, but modern, is Fred Flintstone, and they exist at the same time. That's the whole deal. Is the two exist at the same time,
right?
And when they did the,
you can walk around and stretch out my leg. I'm still listening.
Yeah,
go on.
But yeah, like that's basically I'm at that point right now. Like that would be interesting to find out. Like, hey, a spacefaring race who sits there and tries to get through the universe, but they can't go up or down. They can only go one direction, and it's a highway.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, that's an entertaining and funny thing, which I think is great. So, Atom Punk. There's a certain. I don't know. I love Atom Punk. By the way, my big problem this week has been I have had horrible cramps in my calves. And yesterday was like the worst. I got up. First of all, I got a cramp in my left calf, which got me out of bed, right? Because there's no way to stretch it out except to stand on it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll rub the cramp out. And for some reason, just doing that made my calf cramp both directions. And I don't exactly know how to explain it, but it was so cramped up, it literally would not move. I could not move.
Was it like on the backside or on the front?
It was on the back, like that big muscle on the back of my calf.
Ooh.
So I used to do sword all the time, and anybody who does like kendo and kenjutsu, we get like massive forearms and massive calves from doing, and it's like that's just what you get when you sword fight all the time. Mm-hmm. So I've got like, even now I haven't been exercising. I haven't been in kendo in years, but even now I still have pretty serious calves, and man, it cramped like I've never had it cramp before. It was so Charlie horsed that it still hurts today. Because I think it literally tore the muscle somewhere along the line. That cramp was so nasty. So I'm still trying to get up and walk around and just keep it stretched out.
So as a birthday present,
you got a cramp?
No, Bill actually got me, because I get hand cramps, obviously, because I'm at my desk
all the time.
I get hand cramps, but I also have carpal tunnel in my arm, and so I do tend to have like a lot of other nerve pain and stuff.
Right.
In which case, like, as much as Bill loves me and stuff like that, he doesn't like it, the fact that, like, if we're on the couch, I'll just like basically plop over on my side, and that's my way of asking him, hey, my back hurts.
Right.
So we got like this personal massager at Colorado Mills Mall. Granted, if you go there, I'm not sure how much they will charge you, but it's one of those things, like they have like that pressure tank that's supposed to massage you, and then they sell you a personal massager by testing it on you. And then there's this other product that they basically strap like electrical nods to your skin.
Okay.
And like that's supposed to like massage you.
Okay.
We ended up just getting the regular massager. So since then, I've actually been doing it a little bit more often, and my arm doesn't seem to be cramping as much. And Bill does get leg pain as well, so he's used it. He hasn't told me if he had leg pain recently. So
I actually am very, very worried that this is because I've got a lower lumbar problem with my like one of my discs in the lower back, and it's pinching the nerves. That's what I really think is happening, is that I'm getting pinched nerves, and we're getting like electrical transmission failure to my legs. I don't have numbness down there or anything like that. It's not like my legs have gone numb, but that's what I'm concerned about. Or plausibly, there's like the femoral artery and stuff like that. It could be a blood flow being cut off. Yeah. Because what happens is I get the cramps when I've been sitting here working. And the last 2 weeks I've been working extra hard on that animation. And I haven't left this chair. For like days, I haven't left this chair. And I think that's what's happening. Though the massager is probably like our heating pad or something like that's great. I do wear compression socks now, and that helps. But what I think I'm going to do to solve this problem is I'm going to put this tablet on a lectern. I'm going to go buy a lectern. Just like your normal standing there talking to an audience lectern. I found them for like $80. And so I'm just going to go buy a lectern and stick it here and swap these two desks. So this desk is here, this desk is here, because this is a shorter desk than this one. And I'll put the lectern right here, standing right like to about like up this area right here. And then I'll put this monitor on the lectern. So I'll have to stand to draw. Okay. And that's what I think I will do to solve the problem.
Well, that one, I'm just going to inform you that I have met people who have done that for drawing, and they develop another weird thing, is strain on their back if they're bending over too much. So just keep that in mind.
That's why I chose a lectern, because it's going to be, I'm going to have to be drawing like this. I'll have to be standing up straight in order. I don't want to get a lectern that I have to like bend over to draw on, Although to be fair, I mean, when I'm here, this is where I am. I'm bent over drawing on this. So, it's going to have to be better for my posture. The other thing I was thinking of getting was one of those like weird kneeling chairs. Where you sit with your knees, like you're kneeling. I've thought about getting that because that changes my posture and makes me sit up straight. So that's the other thing I've been thinking about doing.
Well, for me, I don't think I would enjoy that, but I was also raised Catholic, and when you're on your knees, it hurts.
Yeah, I was going to say Catholic means you kneel a lot.
Yeah, my knees, I'm sorry, it's like, no.
Well, it's not you're sitting on your knees. It's more that the chair is like this. So your butt is here and your knees are here. So you're still sitting on your butt. But
I know the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the chair.
And he's like, those are awesome. Yeah, well,
the chairs are awesome. I'm not saying no. It's just one of my friends had them, and they're awesome chairs. I'm not knocking the chair. It's just me personally. Like the thought of kneeling hurts.
Right.
It just
well, and I'm wondering does that mean you use one of those, Kundi? Because if so, that might not be. I mean, that's endorsement. I know that. So any of the guys in okay, cool. Any of the guys from Red Team Go, I know we put in the hours. So if he's like sitting there saying, "Oh no, that's good," then I'm gonna listen because he puts in as many hours as I do, if not more. So he's putting down the pin. So that I thought would help. I will, like I was saying, I was going to swap these desks because this desk is longer and this desk is shorter. And then once I do, that'll give me, that'll put this desk to about here-ish, which gives me enough space for a lectern to be right there and still be able to get out of my little alcove over here. but I've been thinking about doing that. Then putting my keyboard here, and then this monitor would become my writing monitor, so to speak. It'd be the monitor I'd use for writing things. So that would be a thought process. That's what I'm thinking of doing. And then I can take the camera and mount it up here on top of my computer to catch me at the lectern. The only thing that I think would be a problem is I'm going to need some way to remote control OBS, because I'll need to have a control box sitting on my monitor right here, which would be very similar to some of the weirder boxes I have seen certain members of our party making before. So he says, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And that's what I think I need. I think that I need to be more centered over my spine and things like that. I am not a spring chicken anymore. And I'm noticing, and not only that, I'm still overweight. And I'm noticing both of those things are putting a lot of pressure on my lower back. And so.
So do you want to meet at a park or something and just start doing calisthenics? We'll wear masks.
Right? So I actually, on Sundays, I go out to the park and practice sword with my friends. So I've got a buddy who is a second-degree black belt in Kenjutsu, which is the deadly art of sword, as opposed to Kendo, which is sort of the sport version. The earth is flat, says Kundi. He's like, let's get more fight in here. Not enough flat.
Okay, so
Just need to do some Tai Chi in the park.
So,
Bill just decided to chime in here.
So
what was that?
You need to do some Tai Chi in the park.
Yep, Tai Chi in the park. I love Tai Chi.
So,
Tai Chi is probably where I'm going to be as an old man. I think I'm going to be doing a lot of Tai Chi.
you know what though? You know what makes Tai Chi so great? Because people can do it on flat Earth.
You're just saying.
So here's the deal, folks. With flat earthers, every single time I hear flat and earth together, I think of the series for Discworld,
Larry Niven's Discworld.
where their planet is on top of 4 elephants on top of a turtle that is riding through the universe. And like, if you read the book series, it's amazing. Terry Pratchett is amazing. He's the co-author of Good Omens with Neil Gaiman. Both of them are very great, but like, if you want a world that like literally is a flat Earth, flat as could be, and a story about it, that's the place that you want to go. You want to go to Discworld. So we don't live in Discworld. Like, sometimes I feel like we do. Unfortunately, I have seen way too many pictures, and yes, I am from Florida, so the space race was something that was still going on when I was a kid. So me seeing the world from the viewpoint of an astronaut has been shown to me multiple times, and I do in fact understand that the world is round.
Did you hear that the flat earthers like bought an instrument which measures the movement of the Earth? The entire intention was to prove that it wouldn't actually detect the movement of the Earth, and it detected the movement of the Earth, and they kept trying to get it to stop, and they couldn't. And so it was like, but I mean, the thing.
Did you hear about the Flat Earth show where it was flat earthers searching for the edge of the world?
Right.
And they were having people participate in the show around the world?
I mean, well, that's. I mean,
I
they
just
were
want to
they
say
were like,
around the world.
yeah, they had
wanted
participants
to
all around the world.
find the edge of the world. Folks, let's just put it this way: between Europe and Asia, our landmass was not where me and Guy live, and a bunch of other people that are probably on this show right now.
Yeah.
North and South America continents were not a thing. Someone had to fly. If someone had to go this way on water and hit the landmass.
Yeah, and I mean that's the other thing. We literally have a Brazilian on the show with us right here, right now, who can sit there and say it's getting colder. I mean, like totally, right now. You know, he's like, it's getting colder, and we're like, it's getting hotter. You can right there see earth science working just right here. All we need to do is ask our Brazilian friend, is it getting colder?
Hey, Ghost Hand, is it getting colder?
Right?
Well,
Because
also,
if so, then earth science works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Florida originally, so I had tropical heat and tropical like type situations all the time. Like I hate going back to Florida because my hair curls.
Right?
I hate it.
Right? America is the only thing that matters.
You know,
Right,
like
there's sort of that.
we are at where people theorize the edge of the planet was. That's what I was getting at. Like the landmass here, people used to believe that if you sailed to the east of Asian countries, that you would get to the basically the cliff of the earth.
Right.
Europe, if you sail west too far, you'll get the cliff of the earth. Well, you do have a cliff there. You have the trench, the giant trench that goes through the Atlantic. In between Europe and America, there is a giant trench, folks.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. I'm not making this up. There is a giant trench.
There's another one in the Pacific. It's just that it's like right off of Japan, which is one of the reasons why Japan moves all the time.
Yeah. And I just like, and when I say this stuff, it's like, hey, folks, yes, there is actually indeed a very large divot into the earth under the ocean right there. But again, people know that there's a trench there, but it doesn't mean that we are actually, it's the cliff of the earth. It just means that there's a trench. That's it.
Right. So it's a thing.
Hold on. Messages from Bill.
I'd like to clarify that in the second dimension, we are fine. So that.
Right. But as someone who is trying to do second dimensional maps of stars, I'm starting to realize the error of my ways. Because really, honestly, I was like sitting there going, oh, look, here's all the trade routes between stars. Then I did a 3D version of it, and I realized my trade routes do this number, and they go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And there's like no logic to it. And it's because once, you know, all the stars, if you look at all the stars, they're all right next to each other. And then when you do them in 3D, they do this number. And you're like, oh, we're going from this star to this star, then back down to this star, back up to that star. And then, you know. So I'm liking it a whole lot better to do it in 3D.
I'm not sure if you're into gaming much, but if you are and you get the chance, play Stellaris. I think you'd get a kick out of it.
Oh, yeah. Stellaris sounds like an awesome game. I've actually thought about that a lot. I mean, I play No Man's Sky right now. That's like my big thing. But No Man's Sky has a lot of fixed. Everything's fixed.
Yeah.
So, like, the systems, there's day and night, but effectively what they're doing is rotating the skybox. So the planets stay fixed and don't move. So, you know, it's a thing.
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter. Does it have stars in Monster Hunter? What I'm looking for, though, is something that will do the maps like It's Full of Stars does. And it's really hard for me to find. I can find programs out there that will do it. And Celestia theoretically will do it, but it takes a lot of mods to make it to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I need... And then, of course, I need it to do it in a section of space and not every star everywhere. Oh, you're playing Monster Hunter. I get it. There's no stars in Monster Hunter, Kundi. I'm just saying. Anyway, Kundi's like, I really don't care. I get that. But yeah, I'm trying to find something because, of course, the problem with It's Full of Stars, which is it's a great program, but it does everything. There's no anti-aliasing. There's no options on changing the grid or anything like that. So, there are stars in. Okay. There's no options. Kundi's like, yes, there's stars. Okay, I believe you.
I just want to sit here and just remind myself, like, we're talking about stars and stuff, and I'm like, what would happen if there was an actual viable planet next to a blue star?
Right?
I mean, I know those are like that's not a good sign if your star is blue, but
It just means it's hot, but that's fine.
I mean,
what it does is
would be on there?
There's what we call the Goldilocks zone, which is the zone where water is liquid.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally determined as, the zone where, and what happens is the larger the star, the more that Goldilocks zone just moves out.
Yeah.
So you just end up with Neptune being your Goldilocks planet. And that's all. And like everything short of Neptune is uninhabitable. That's exactly what's happening with my version of Bellatrix. Bellatrix is a B-class star, so it's pretty hot and very big and young. And so the first 5 planets are hellish, and that's including the 2 protoplanets. So it's the 8th planet out is a ringed Jupiter planet, and the home world is a planet, or is a moon of that gas giant. So the gas giant is called Delay or Daily, and the moon is called Ren, and the moon is one of 25 moons around there. Still little moons flying around there too that are completely habitable. But
I did not get whatever you just said because
I'm breaking up.
Yeah.
I'm noticing I've got the red mark saying that I'm breaking up. That's nice.
You also have you also have a frozen face. Did we lose you?
No, I'm trying to make a frozen face better.
You probably also like Universe Sandbox, by the way.
You know what?
Universe Sandbox.
Oh yeah, Universe Sandbox. I thought about that one too. Because I saw that they all.
Yeah. It's not as much a game as it is just a sandbox, but.
Yeah, I feel more like just looking at that one. I felt more like Universe Sandbox was more like, hey, let's see what happens when we throw moons at planets.
Yeah, but you could test your solar system out. You could see how it would work.
Right. Oh, I'm being corrupted by lizard people. That's so weird that it just said he is being plussed by lizard people. I'm like, that's the weirdest thing.
So I think yeah. I mean, corrupted, yes, but the plus sign, like I thought, like you were like they were trading you out. That's why you were breaking up.
Yeah.
You know, you were being traded out, and they were like having you still talk while they were peeling your skin off for the skin suit that the person that's replacing you is going to be using.
How do you know if that didn't already happen?
That's why you're now crisp and clean and full of non-breaking upness, I guess.
Right. I feel
I
very
mean, if I'm gonna be a lizard person, I'm just gonna I will tell people I'm a lizard person. So
because I mean, honestly, you know, who's gonna believe me,
I'm from a place called Jupiter.
right?
I could be a lizard person already.
You could be, for all we know.
Like if you met my siblings, you probably would think I was the weird one.
I met you. I already think you're a weirdo. So there's that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, on the reality of it is that I think we're all weirdos. So you, me, Kundi, and Colton, and Raph, especially Raph.
He's the only actual human among us.
Maybe.
Me and you have already stated that we're reptoids.
Yeah, you have to be a certain amount of crazy to be an artist, I think.
I'm gonna say that the Nordic part of us is Colton.
Yeah. Nordic? Is he an
Nordic,
exercise machine?
Nordic is an alien race, a species. They can have human-like skin, basically, kind of like the people from Nordic traditions, or Nordic backgrounds. They can have blue skin and they can have green skin.
They're usually very V-shaped in the chest, very narrow at the bottom.
They basically look like elves.
The Greys don't like them. The Greys, in the alien conspiracy theory world, because we used to know someone who did all the skinny aliens. The Greys and the Nordics don't like each other.
Gotcha.
The Greys actually used to, if you see a Nordic with Greys, they're usually bound in chains because they are prisoners. There are, so you have the Greys, you have the Nordics, and you have the Reptoids. Those are the three factions of aliens that like affect our planet, like conspiracy-wise, the most.
Visit.
Yeah.
Or as Zaphod Beeblebrock says, drive around in a little car, or drive around in this flying saucers, beeping people, and just scaring people and farmers. Yeah.
Then in the alien thread, you have the Mothmen, which the Mothmen only come to our planet during times of what is known as great catastrophes are about to hit.
Right. Anything that has a lot of light, that makes sense.
Yeah. And yes, Colton,
that attracts them all the time.
I'm saying you're an elf.
So I just like the idea that the Mothmen only visit whenever we turn on all of our lights. Then they're like, the Mothmen are.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, but there's a story that I actually follow. Let me see if I can pull it up here. There we go. Let me see. Is it not here? It's called Almost Human or something. Like, hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Trying Human. That's what it's called.
Oh, that's me. I'm definitely a trying human.
Yeah, so Trying Human is basically like an alternate reality of what happened after Area 51 cover up. And Area 51 cover up was real. And it follows like the lives of 3 characters. One's a humanoid, one's a reptoid, and one's a human Nordic hybrid.
They make it a Hordic.
Not really. Her mom was a Nordic, and her dad was a human.
Right. So a human.
And human, yeah. But they go into the various like lores and beliefs of the alien conspiracy theorists have and stuff like that, including like the reptoids pretending and masquerading as humans, and like certain laws, they're not allowed to actually prey on humans, but they can devour a cow.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Thing.
But you also have the 2 different types of reptoids. You have the reptoids that are called Terrans, which are basically the Earthbound, or basically the type of reptoids that are from Earth itself. So then you have the Dracos, which basically went off-world and traveled away from the planet and then came back because Earth is their home world. So you have 2 types of styles of reptoids. And then you have the Greys, where you have this one Grey that basically falls in love with a human. And then his son falls in love with a human. And yeah,
interesting how we can keep coming up with these fascinating twisted stories. They're really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Trying Human's been out for a good while. So
Right.
I think she's up to, the author herself is up to like, I think 7 books published. But it's all online for free. You can read it. But if you want to support her, buy the books.
Right. That makes sense.
She also has a Patreon. So,
But that also makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually good, because I've been wondering whether writers would ever get Patreons.
Well, she
It's
writes
nice to
it,
see.
and it is a comic. She writes and draws it herself.
Okay, that works.
Yeah. But like, I mean, right now, like, if you go to, like, I will send you a link to the page. Guy, that's what I will do right now. I'll just send it to the art show, the thread, so that you guys can do it. She's actually going through and updating the art on the early part of the story right now, at the same time as continuing the story.
Right.
And I know that seems kind of weird, but her style updated as she was doing the story.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And so she got it to the point where she liked it and doesn't want to change it going forward, but now she's going back and changing the things that she didn't like before.
Right. That makes total sense. I get that.
Yeah. So
I get that. Well, and it's one of those things. I mean, like, all of our art is going to evolve over time.
Yeah.
And especially when you have a long-running comic where you've been running for a long time, the art is going to evolve. So it's actually kind of one of the reasons why I keep using the maquettes and things like that, is to try to keep consistency in my artwork. Otherwise my art changes, and then it, and so I kind of like keeping the consistency involved there. That I like that a lot better. So it's updating.
Yeah, like one day I actually just sat down and started drawing a whole bunch of naked characters, and that was kind of dicey. It was weird.
That was a left turn.
Well, you were talking about your maquettes. Your maquettes are naked.
Oh, that's true.
Um,
Although the maquettes don't look, I mean, it's not like, I mean, they've got all these weird marks all over them, you know, like dots for here for the short sleeves and dots here for the long sleeves, and you know, all of their fingers have little dots and markers on them and everything like that, and triangles to indicate different things. And so, I mean, it's like they're not quite obviously naked anymore. Looks like they've got kind of weird skin suits on, kind of like the guys who do the 3D movements of, you know, characters that are going to be green screened in later. They wear the black suit with the little like tennis balls all over them. You know, it's kind of like that now.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, it's all like it's. I guess it's good. No, I just have like I've been coming up with these characters and stuff like that in my head, and I drew some of them out, and some of them are heavily like scarred.
Yeah.
And like with like bullet holes, like here and there, like, you know, phaser holes. You know,
Nothing worse than that.
Yeah. You know, and I think one of them, like, not a disruptor hole, Bill. Not a disruptor hole.
I can't help it.
I can't. This is what I deal with, guy. This is what I have to deal with.
It's not that. I can't help it whenever somebody says disruptor hole. I'm like, but you don't even know her. I can't help it. I mean, it just was the first thing that went through. But you don't even know her. Anyway, okay. That was rough. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But now you know what I have to deal with on a regular basis.
Yep. It's all right. You're just practicing and gearing up for all your dad jokes. It's only a matter of time.
So we found a place that was selling a dad joke book that was 300 dad jokes.
Nice.
So
there's a certain amount of like skill to dad jokes, I've decided. You know, it's like a specific. And by the way, dad jokes are not limited to people who have actually had children, by the way. It's a class of joke, I've noticed.
It's a class of joke.
It's not limited to people who have had children.
Oh no, because
I think the funniest part is that my kiddo is trying to get dad jokes now. He's trying to out dad joke his dad, and that's even funnier.
That's a dangerous combination, because that means that when he does have kids, they're gonna like basically be like
already be sharpened up for it.
That's if he has kids.
You know, I mean, there's all the classics that come in from all the time. You know, I'm hungry. Hi, hungry. I'm dad. You know, that's a classic. But you know, there's all these new ones now, and especially since he's been in sex ed, there have been all kinds of. His new thing is to say that's what she said to everything, but he still doesn't quite grasp what he's. I mean, he's getting there, but he's 11, so it doesn't all make sense to him yet. So
well, it's kind of like
throws that into the mix of things all the time, and it's adorable for him to try to do this, but he's got like zero clue about innuendo, so it just ends up being like the most bizarre stuff. You know, I need more tea. That's what she said. I think you're missing it. So
well, it's kind of like it was after an event. Me and Bill had gone with some people to go get like I guess alcoholic beverages when I was still drinking them. And I'm sitting there, and someone says something to me, and I just start busting out laughing. and they were talking about dick whiskers, and I just started
Definitely will
laughing.
make you laugh.
And I started laughing, and they're like, "Why are you laughing so hard?" Because I'm like, I'm picturing this on a cat.
Yeah.
And then I think I ended up telling a
Alcohol
story.
was definitely involved.
Yeah, and then bye, Kundi. Nice having you
Now
on
you
the
can
show.
join us. We'll see you later, Kundi. We're out in like 7 minutes anyway.
Yeah, and then
which is good because now we're
yeah.
down to dad jokes.
Yeah.
So it's probably better.
So basically, I ended another conversation, basically talking about this storyline where it's like like a washed up Florida-based superhero called Florida Man, and he wears a trucker hat. He has like a gut that comes out like
they really are. Just saying.
Yeah. He's just like all the stereotypes of a Florida man, and he has a gator, and the gator is male, but goes to the vet, and like he's expecting to lay eggs, and I'm sitting there and I'm like telling this story to a person in the room that happens to be trans too, and I just basically was like, I just had the guy say like something like, you tell the gator that she's female, that she's not a female, and then just drink a freaking thing, and everyone started laughing. I have no idea where this was going, but I was completely drunk at that point, so I barely remember it cohesively.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? I should have asked Kundi because he usually does like these modified control panels for his stuff. I should have, while he was here, if there is a way to make a modified control panel that would control OBS.
Well,
that's something definitely.
Maybe you can get him to do a live.
Just next time he's on, remind me to ask him that about control panels and things.
Mm-hmm.
He was building these really neat, like there were boxes that he'd snap onto the side of his tablets and things like that to give him, brush controls and stuff like that. And I've got a set.
You mean control boxes?
Yeah, but he built them himself. So they did specific instructions and things. I've got the 8 buttons on either side. One of the problems I'm finding with the buttons on the side is that they only give control to the program you're in. So, like, I can push this button and it will click the button C. It'll click the letter C, or it'll click the letter F. But if you're in Clip Studio, then it does whatever C and F does. It doesn't actually do the stuff that would control, like, switching scenes like you'd want out of OBS. So I don't know how to make that work, because that's going to be our biggest problem is once I put this on a podium right here, I'm not going to be able to switch scenes. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not going to be able to switch cameras without walking over here, loading up OBS, or switching to OBS, and then clicking the next scene button.
And then you have the wonderful, weird issue of how do you get it so...
Raph's here for just like 1 second.
Hi and bye, Raph! Hi and bye!
I thought you were in New Mexico.
He is. He can say a hi and bye on the internet.
No, New Mexico has no internet.
Since when? I got good Wi-Fi when I was there.
I was just there a little while ago. I'm just saying.
I will visit New Mexico when it is winter.
Yeah, we were there in the summer. It wasn't pleasant. I agree. It was pretty rough.
Like, I made you go down in the fall.
And we were, and we even went through the native lands, a lot of the native lands. So it was like that, like stark hot area. We were west of Albuquerque and way out in the like the where the mountains are kind of.
Oh, I know the area that you're
like
talking
the
about.
Roadrunner was. like
I
all
know
the
the
stuff that
area.
they used for Roadrunner.
I know what the area you're talking about. We went
Right.
to the Grand Canyon
That's
in New Mexico.
where we were. We were in the Grand Canyon when we came back. We came back through until we hit 25 and then went north.
Yeah, I joked with my friend and I was just like, yes, we took a ride at Albuquerque.
Yep. Except if you take a ride at Albuquerque from where we were going, and you probably were too, if we took a ride at Albuquerque, we're going to end up in Las Cruces.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to take a left at Albuquerque.
We were going to Arizona, so we took a right at Albuquerque.
You did take a ride at Albuquerque to head off to Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were coming back. And on our way back through, we wanted to go through the reservations that were in that part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've been to the northern reservations, but never been to the southern reservations. So that was kind of a fun trip. Well, I mean, because it's like a lot of stuff there. There's so much great culture in that area. You kind of have to. See, this is why we miss having you around, Raph. There's just.
I'm just saying, like, if anyone sees a comment, like, it's great. I wasn't saying that New Mexico doesn't have internet. I just want to put that on record.
I was totally saying that.
Yeah.
But I was mostly saying that to get a rise out of Raph. So there's that. I mean, really, it's just because,
But I will be realistic. There's a way more to do in Taos than there is on the internet.
Yeah, that's true too. Taos is so pretty.
Yeah,
it really
way more to do.
Yeah, Raph is using his 5G.
Yeah, from his body.
Right, exactly. Well, we all have 5G now.
Yeah, if you got the vaccine, you definitely have you definitely have 5G.
Yeah. Oh, we miss you, Raph. That's only because we have sucky aim. You're too far away.
Well, I will throw this out there. It is 11 o'clock at this point.
It is. It's time for us to all go do our things. I got to get the kid up, and we got to go do lunch or something. So
I definitely need to go eat something. So
yeah, I didn't eat breakfast this morning. I got up this morning and immediately got into an argument on the internet, and I really shouldn't have. And I know better, and I know better a lot, and I really just shouldn't have done it, and I did it anyway. That's all right. That's all right. I'm going to spend the rest of the day working on stars. That makes me happy. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Food. Oh, yeah, but he's down in the land of fry bread. Oh, man, the fry bread's good down there. The food is so good. That's one of the reasons I travel on my stomach. And so my sister's like, where do you want to go? And I'm like, I want to go through New Mexico and into the reservation areas. And she's like, why? And I'm like, good food. She's like, you're so weird. And I'm like, come on. It's good food. Anyway, I mean, obviously it's like anywhere, there's good food and there's bad food, but still, I love the area. It's so cool. And I actually like that area. And good, right? The green chili. Oh, well. I've been to Hatch, and they actually have really good green chili there because it's Hatch green chili.
Well, I'm just gonna throw this out there that I need one of those big long things of dried peppers from Hatch.
We're just saying, Raph. We're already giving you kind of marching orders here, dude. We need green
Not
chili.
marching orders. I need to go and pick it up myself, so Raph doesn't have to haul it back.
My sister-in-law lives in Las Cruces, and so when we hop in the car every so often and just head down there, and then we stop in Hatch. Like, chilies, please. And and it's like
I
it's
mean,
a
I
thing.
already have like 4, 5 bags, I think, of different chilies in my house right now. So
Right. And Raph, you're right. That's real green chili. I'm not going to even argue. I know that our governor likes to get into little wars with New Mexico's governor as to who has better chili. And I feel like I'm kind of not being a good Coloradan by saying this, but I like New Mexico chili.
I'm not saying the actual chili. I'm actually just talking about the pepper, the chili pepper.
That's why I keep saying I stop there, Raph.
Well, it's Christina.
Oh. I don't know. Heathen. It's Christina, that's why.
Yeah.
I like Catch green chili.
I like Hatchery.
I mean, that doesn't mean that there
chilies
isn't
too.
other good green chilies, but I like
I just
Hatch
want like
green
the dried. I just want the one of those things of like strung
chili. Yeah,
up
Hatch
green.
is on I-25.
Okay.
Hatch is
They're-
just
I
off-
mean, I know they're red.
well, yeah.
I know
But
that.
Hatch
I
is
know
just
they're
off-
red when they're dried.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, uncultured swine. That's all right. Hey, Christina, if you want to bring back some green chili that's good, I'm all on board with this plan. I'm just saying.
Raph will eat
With
it
a-
all. He won't let you.
I
have
know.
it.
See, that's the problem is that Raph's going to eat it all before it ever gets up here. But I am open for you to change my mind. I'm going to put that out there and just leave it.
Okay. On that note, we should probably
On that
end
note.
this show.
I will leave all of you guys and go get food. Now I'm really hungry. This is all your fault.
You're making me hungry. Everyone's
I know.
making me hungry.
You guys are making me hungry. Now I want green chili too. Oh man. Oh well. Okay, guys. Well, it actually is good to hear from you guys. He will eat it all, right? He's such a pest. He's like my cat, eats everything. It was good to have you guys here, Raph and Christina. I really do appreciate it. I don't know if we
It was good to
lost.
have
I think
everyone,
we lost
not
Ghost
just-
Hand somewhere back a while back.
Yeah.
Stupid smothered breakfast burritos. Now I'm all bitter. So
Smothered breakfast burritos, huh? Well, that sounds
Yeah, right?
actually, yeah. I live near a place that makes them.
see, Colton's like, I like food. Okay, well, I'm going to put the onus on giving me an education in green chili on Christina, and say I am open to being educated properly here.
Okay.
I'm just saying, especially if it involves green chili. So
So I'm just going to say wrap up my goals for this upcoming week are going to be finishing the comic that I have to get done. So
Yeah.
hopefully I will be,
and shipping off a script to Colton.
and shipping off a script to Colton.
No.
That's going to be a little bit difficult because I'm going to have to basically change like a bunch of names because I have a very large family.
Okay. My goals are to finish my star maps and planet maps and have them out the door so that I can get cracking on this. So that's my goals. I'll see you next Friday then. And maybe Colton will join us, and maybe Raph will join us. And Christy-
So we do not have Watercolor Wednesday coming up this coming week?
I'll see you next Wednesday too. But we won't be
Okay.
talking about what our goals are on Wednesday.
True. But
We do watercolor. We should be painting.
I do want to point out that technically, out of a technicality, I still need to deliver watercolor to you.
Yes. Well, I was thinking of picking that up Monday or Tuesday, just heading into your part of the world.
Okay.
So that's my battle plan. Just pick it up, and it doesn't. I mean, now that my kid's not in school, there's no real like binding time. I don't have to be there at, I don't have to take my niece to school and therefore like swing by your place while dropping her off and stuff like that, like I did. There's no pressure.
Yeah, just don't tell the paint that you have binding time.
Right, exactly. It'll come all unglued. So, okay, guys, I will see everybody later, and I will see you next week, Pepper, and I will see all of you guys on Monday for Springs Monday. And until then, Keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.
Computer, good night.